Get everything laid out here. Hey, it's the preacher, and it's Wednesday. We're back in the kitchen. Not my kitchen, we're at the church kitchen. I'm going to cook Salisbury steak tonight, and we're going to cook it for 50. The recipe I have is for 50. So I want to show you how to make it. It's pretty simple once you get everything laid out. I'm going to show you what all I put in it, and then I'll show you how I make it. First of all, we've got 8 pounds of ground hamburger meat. Now, you can buy the 10-pound log and cut off a quarter of it. That leaves you 8 pounds. You could shoot your own beef. You could substitute horse, unicorn, rhinoceros, basically any other red meat. But we're going to use beef because we don't like feeding the church mystery meat. To that, we're going to add 12 ounces or 1 quart and a quarter of a cup. A quart and a quarter of a cup of rolled oats. These are also called old-fashioned oats. To that, we're going to add 4 hen apples, chicken berries, or eggs. 4 of these. Eggs work as a binder to keep these things together while we're going to bake these. Now you could grill them, you could fry them, but we're going to spread them out on a cooking sheet and bake them in the oven. Alright, now to that we're going to add a cup of beef stock. This is just right off the aisles of your grocery store. You know, you could get some other red meat and cook it down all day and make it. To a cup of beef stock, we're going to add a cup of instant, non-fat, dried milk. I had to go buy that. I don't keep that on hand. To that, we're going to add a quarter cup of dried parsley. Quarter cup of dried parsley. What am I missing? Oh, my wife chopped these for me. 2 cups of finely chopped onions. Those are Vidalias. This is not on the recipe, but I can't imagine. There's the oven. It's at 350, by the way. I can't imagine making this and not putting Worcestershire sauce in it. I mean, who wouldn't put Worcestershire? I don't know how much I put in there, but that's 8 pounds of meat. It can take a lot of Worcestershire sauce. Not in the recipe. That's a preacher bonus. We're going to add a teaspoon. We're going to add a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon and a half of black pepper. And a half. Let me make sure I got it all. Oh, 2 teaspoons of salt. My bad. Okay. 2 teaspoons of salt. Recap it. A teaspoon and a half of black ground pepper. A quarter cup of dried parsley. A cup of instant non-fat dry milk. A cup of beef stock. 4 fresh large eggs. 12 ounces of rolled oats or a quart and a quarter of a cup. And 8 pounds of raw beef. Let me get this on. I added Worcestershire sauce. You're supposed to mix this with a mixer, but this is a small church. We don't have a big commercial mixer. So the pastor's got 2 sets. I'm going to put some gloves on and I'm going to mix this. I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like when I get done. What I'm doing is I'm reaching under it, pulling the bottom to the top, pushing it down and letting my fingers kind of spread out. By spreading it out like that, you're getting a good mix. And you wouldn't know it to look at me, but this is the only workout I get is mixing hamburger meat and stuff like this in the kitchen. Honestly, I didn't get this body by going to the gym. This is all I do and it works for me. Our parsley's mixed in, our pepper, our salt, our eggs, the milk, everything's become a homogeneous mixture and evenly distributed. And so what they recommend on the website that I stole this from was using a number 10 scoop. And I don't have a number 10 scoop, but they said it was 3/8 of a cup. Well, 3/8 of a cup is 1/8 more than a quarter of a cup. Probably a third of a cup would be about right. as being a portion. So what I'm going to do is mound up 1/4 cup, just like that. Then I'm going to pat that out. It's said to 1 inch thick. I'm going to go about like that. And I'm going to lay that on an ungreased sheet with sides. You don't want to do it on a flat sheet. There may be some grease. Well, I just about bet you that I'm using 80/20, but I would just about bet you that this is going to make some grease, even with the oats in there to soak it up. So we'll just, to ensure we're making them all roughly the same size, we'll just check them in the rounded 1/4 cup. We'll pat them out into, you don't want to get real uniform here. Yeah, you could use one of them fancy presses, but then they would think it was store-bought. You don't want to be store-bought, you want to be homemade. So make it look homemade. Then they'll be like, you made that by hand? And I'll be like, yeah, I did. So, there. You don't need to see this. I'll tell you what, I'm just getting pretty good at picking up about the right amount. Using rubber gloves sure helps, because mixing hamburger meat can get real greasy at times. And that grease just kind of builds up on you, and I don't like it. It's not like deer meat. Deer's pretty lean. Beef is fat. Fat is good, but I prefer to have it on my plate and not stuck down in the crevices of my fingernails, if you know what I mean. So, I'm going to continue to pat these out, and we're going to pop these in the oven at 350 for, I think it's, what is it going to be? 25 to 30 minutes at 350. If you have a convection oven, it'll be 300 for 15 to 20. I know I said I'm making it for 50, but we're Baptist. That equates to 40 real servings, because we don't go by the USDA guidelines. We're Old Testament. I don't even know what we're Old Testament means. I'll just say this. Baptists can eat a serving, can eat more than one serving. So instead of 50, I'm going to end up with 40. And the way it's looking, I'm going to have about, I'm going to get about 10 to a sheet. These are pretty good sized sheet pans. I'm going to get 10 to a sheet. So if I do 2 sheets at a time, that's 20. If I do 2 batches, that'll be 40. And that'll be just about right for tonight. And anybody that shows up late, if we run out, should have been here on time. We've been starting at the same time for years. Okay, there's what they look like. There's 10 on each tray. I'm going to stick these in there at 350 for 25 minutes. I'll check them. If they need a little more, we'll go a little more. And a little pro tip for you, anytime you're using 2 pans on top and bottom, about halfway through, rotate them, at least spin them around, change places, kind of like a Rubik's Cube. If you do that, you'll get even cooking. If you don't do that, sometimes what's up directly under another pan will brown on top, or sometimes it won't cook. I don't know, they all do a little different. But if you rotate them around, switch them top to bottom, they'll turn out great and cook evenly. I'll bring you back when they come out of the oven and show you what they look like, and then we'll do the next batch. Alright, here's what you end up with. I don't know how well you can see that, but they are fully cooked. Now here's what I plan to do with it. We don't eat for another hour and a half, and I have another half batch to cook. This is only 20. These are coming right out. What I plan on doing is stacking them. Not laying there. I want to stack them in here. I'll get some in here and then I'll scoot them up. Kind of put them in there like shingles, if you will. These are just little half-sheet pans. And the purpose for doing this is so that I can keep them warm. And people, you know, just about everybody here shows up pretty close to on time. You know, some people work, they get here a little bit later. I mean, I understand that. Some live further away, they have to drive farther. I get that too. But nobody likes cold hamburger. And so the plan is this. We want these to stay warm. So what we're going to do is stack them all in 2 pans. I'll set the first pan out, which has 20 of these patties in it. And then as this one gets eaten down, that is hot. I'm going to tell you what, that's so hot, you don't really want to reach in there and grab a hold of it. But I don't have a choice. The sacrifices you make for people. Alright, now you say, preacher, why are you stacking them in there? Well, number one, I can get more in there, but number two, they won't just be setting down in the liquids. Because I'm going to put some of these juices in there. Now, ideally, you would put these in a fat separator and then pour the juices off. Now, you see I've got them in here. None of them are laying flat. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to take the pans and pour just a little bit, not all of it. There's some. Wipe that off so it don't drip. You say, preacher, you just pouring fat in there. I might be pouring fat in there. That ain't going to hurt nothing. That ain't going to hurt anything. Sorry, you grammar Nazis, I used the double negative and a word that technically don't exist. Hey. Alright, that's just moisture. Here's why. I'm going to put foil over this. Now, these are hot. I want to put foil over it tightly. The purpose here is to lock that moisture in the pan. I've got one oven. I've got one oven in the church kitchen, so I don't have a warmer. I don't have anywhere to put it. I've got a steam pan over there, but that's for potatoes. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm holding heat in. I'm holding moisture in. After I get the next batch cooked, then I will slide these in the oven just to keep them warm. Then I will slide the second batch in there and keep them warm, and they will stay in the oven on about 200 until we're time to eat, and I'll set the first batch out. When they're gone or they're almost gone, I'll go get the second batch, and that way we ensure we have warm Salisbury steak. You say, preacher, Salisbury steak's made out, has gravy on it. You're right, it does. Mushroom flavored gravy. I like McCormick brown gravy mix. I buy it at Sam's in the big container. When you're cooking for this many people, it's hard to make homemade gravy and have a gallon. So what I do is I buy this, and then I add mushrooms to it. I make this according to the package. You're just adding water to powder. And I like buying it here. That way if I just want a cup or I want a gallon, I'm not sitting here tearing open packages and trying to do math in my head. It's all right there on the back. So I'm going to make this on the stove. When I make a gallon, I'll put it in a crock pot, and then I'll set the crock pot aside and it'll stay warm. Okay, just so you know, I have packed the second 2 pans. And I ended up putting like 11 and a half in this one. I got a couple of small ones and 11 in this one. And basically, I should have tightened up the first 2 a little bit. But that makes it about 42 and a half patties. Instead of 50 servings, we got 42 and a half. And so that's about right. I mean, hey, look. The USDA just knows about starving people to death. Baptists know about putting weight on. So take it from the preacher. It says Salisbury steak for 50, but that translates through Baptist tongues to 42 and a half, all right? Anyways, let's put these in the oven about 30 minutes and we'll be done. Well, there's what you end up with. Salisbury steak, mushroom gravy, got a little green beans, cucumber salad, a roll, and mashed potatoes and gravy. there you have it. Thank you guys for watching. My food's getting cold, so I'm going to have to end the video right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.